All right, we do keep you up to date on all kinds of things here at Digital Trends, and that includes future tech that could change how we operate, and I'm talking about energy storage. And so joining us right now, we have the one and only Luke Dormel to talk about this. He's got an article coming out here over this weekend, and we're going to kind of cover what it is that Luke is talking about with this. Luke, number one, it's so good to see you, but number two, where do you want to start with this? What is this article really about?
Absolutely, yeah. Let me start, first of all, with an apology. You're on my iPhone today. My computer decided to malfunction at the last moment, so that's why you've got the slightly shaky background. Quickly to launch into this, because I think this is a really fascinating topic. Everyone's familiar with the idea of sort of energy, sustainable energy. But what do you do when the sun's not shining, so can't power your solar panels? What do you do when the wind's not blowing and so can't turn turbines? What you need to have is an energy storage system. And this article really was triggered by a really interesting company I found out about, which is building a demonstrator system here in the UK, in Edinburgh. It's a company called Gravitricity. I always love these names which sort of trip off the tongue. And essentially their idea is that they have found a way of generating, of storing energy in the form of really, really heavy weights. So we're talking about weights 550 to 5,000 to 5,500 tons. And these are basically dropped from a great height, which then spins a winch, which feeds power into the electric grid. So it's kind of I mean, it sort of sounds like a Rube Goldberg kind of design to store energy, but it's sort of a fascinating idea that essentially you can sort of turn heavy weights into storable energy.
Yeah, that really is. I mean, and looking at this, I know there's a lot of different companies that are working on how to store this. So that one with Gravitricity, I'll never get to say it right. But going from that one, I know there's a couple of other ones too that you're going to be kind of highlighting in this.
For sure, yeah, it was an interesting piece because, as I say, I sort of launched into it covering this, and then I sort of found that there are so many other interesting, innovative ways of of storing energy. So there are things like sort of cryogenic storage, where electricity is used to cool air until it liquefies, and then the liquefied air can then be turned back into its sort of everyday gaseous state by sort of exposing it to ambient air or warming it up, and then that gas can be used to power turbines and generate electricity. Or there's hydroelectric pumped storage, which is a little bit like the Gravitricity thing, except you're using water. So you sort of pump water up a hill, you have it in what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of a dam, and then essentially when you need it, you let it go, it runs down the hill, turns turbines. So these are kind of various technologies, and there are a number of other ones I go into in the piece with sort of compressed air energy storage, all of these different ones, and there are various stages of being kind of rolled out. Some of them like hydro electric pumped storage, I think that was invented in something like 1890. So these are kind of various stages of the kind of the rollout and the development process, but they're all kind of really fascinating ways of, as I say, solving that problem with sustainable energy, which is, how do you access it when it's not readily available? So yeah, it was an interesting piece to research.
And again, this piece comes out tomorrow, I believe, is when it goes live, kind of going through all these different ones that you researched. Like, I guess with all this too, did you find that there was actual interest from some of the major energy companies? Did they seem like this is something that they want to go toward?
Yeah, I didn't delve into that much of I looked sort of briefly at the adoption. A lot of it were things like, I mean, the Gravitricity thing obviously is an incredibly kind of new idea, so they're still at the proof of concept phase with it. I think that their plan at the moment is that they're going to have this demonstrator built by the end of this year, and then they're hoping that it's going to be sort of connected to the grid by 2023. So some of these are very, very kind of new. As I say, things like hydroelectric pump storage is something that is already quite widely used. So there are sort of, depending on the technology, there are sort of different levels of interest in this. But I mean, I would be fascinated to, as a follow-up piece, kind of, look at sort of where these are used, kind of how widely they're used, and some of those kinds of innovations. But I mean, certainly in at least a couple of the cases, I know that compressed air energy storage There are currently two plants, one of them in Germany, and I think the other one's in Alabama. So they're already being kind of used. So yeah, as I say, I didn't delve that much kind of into the figures in terms of what sort of percentage of the overall kind of grid these represent. But certainly these aren't technologies in every case that are just, you know, science fiction ones that, you know, we may see in 20 years' time. These are things which are being used right now.
Yeah, definitely fascinating. And again, that article goes up tomorrow at digitaltrends.com, taking a look at that. And Luke, as always, it's great to talk to you. I'll let you set down your iPhone now. I'm sure that's probably
my arm is getting tired
for this shot. Yes. Well, Luke Dormel, thank you so much. Always good to see you.
Cheers. Thank you so much.